We are now in Austin, Texas. It is often called the best place to live in the USA and also the fastest growing city, where the second Silicon Valley is being built.
In recent years, it has become one of the most popular destinations for relocation. So in this video, we will talk about how the residents of Austin live, what helps it develop so quickly, and why everyone is drawn here.
Let's go. Be sure to watch this episode until the end, and I'm sure you'll want to move here too. After all, even Elon Musk couldn't resist its charm and moved here from California, bringing the Tesla headquarters with him. When I was just planning to go to America and Googling in American forums, everyone wrote that the best cities in America are Austin in Texas and San Diego in California. But at that time, I found affordable language courses to come to America only in San Diego, so that's where I went. And Austin remained my dream, and now here I am.
There is no ocean here, but there are plenty of opportunities as the economy of Texas is larger than that of all of Russia. And just imagine, Russia has a population of 146 million people, while Texas has 32 million, yet its economy is larger and surpasses not only Russia, but also Australia, Canada, and South Korea.
Although Texas produces 43% of all American oil, people don't come here because of that. And because there is no state income tax here, there is a good salary to price ratio, and of course, vast opportunities in the tech industry. After all, in Austin alone, more than 10,000 companies are hiring employees. And you can start a business here much faster than in California. Just imagine, everyone knows New York, Miami, Los Angeles, Chicago, San Francisco, but many haven't even heard of Austin, although it is America's new tech hub.
Each state develops in different directions. In some places, it's the space industry. In others, it's oil and gas, or IT. And because of this, there are choices. And the country is so gigantic that you can live great in almost every corner. Austin is so well known that people are always moving there from all over the country, and its metropolitan area now has 2.2 million people and is constantly growing.
The residents of Texas are very freedom-loving, and their views often differ from those in other states. But here's what's interesting. Texas is a Republican state, but Austin is a Democratic city.
The slogan of the city is "Keep Austin Weird," but we haven't noticed anything weird yet. If we see something, we'll definitely let you know.
In the center of Austin, everything is quite modern. The city is actively being built up, so it feels pretty new. Since Austin is a relatively new city and its peak development is happening right now, there isn't much old architecture here. However, you can still find pockets of old buildings occasionally. Honestly, it's just nice. Over here, there are tall, modern skyscrapers, and over there, old architecture. But of course, there's not much of it here. And since we're in downtown, let's start from the beginning and take a look at the Texas Capitol. In Texas, they love everything big, and the Capitol here is even larger than the one in Washington. By the way, in the USA, you can visit the Capitol where the government meets. So, right in the middle of their workday.
Usually downtown in many cities doesn't have particularly interesting places, but the Capitol consists of such beautiful architectural buildings that anyone can visit. We recommend not missing this opportunity and going to see the Capitol with us.
Well guys, I can definitely say that this is the most beautiful Capitol I have ever been to. It's simply an architectural masterpiece.
It's incredibly beautiful here. I recently visited France, and I can say that this place, this Capitol, really exudes a Louvre-like atmosphere. It's just absolutely goosebumps from how much there is both carving and paintings here.
And there's something monumental here. The building is so gigantic that when you just look up, you feel like you're drowning in it.
And at the top, of course, is the Texas Star.
It is in historic capitals like this one that you can usually go in and see the offices as they used to be, where the members of the Supreme Court, Senate, House of Representatives, and the governor used to meet. And now, usually everything has already been moved to a new building, which is right next to the Capitol, just like it was in Florida. And there you can go in, see where the governor, House of Representatives, and Senate are now seated, and also take a walk around. In general, in the best American traditions, you can watch how politicians are working off your taxes. And while being in downtown Austin, we couldn't miss checking out 6th Street. It's a street with a bunch of bars, various clubs, pubs, and so on. A lot of musicians perform here. By the way, it is written that parking and dropping off musicians is only allowed after a certain time, and there are also various comedy clubs. This is the most fun street in Austin. If people want to have a fun weekend, they come here. It even has a notable reputation in America. Not many have heard about it because there's a lot going on here. Wild parties and so on. Again, since there's a big university here, a lot of young people flock here too. And all the people who come to work in these corporations also love to party. A cool place with unusual architecture and a beautiful view of downtown, so if someone is looking for entertainment, they will definitely find it on 6th Street.
And if you like live music, you'll enjoy the fall even more, as there are a huge number of bars and places where you can hear it. In fact, it is even called the world capital of music. The only thing is, I don't quite agree with that, because in my experience, there was much more music in Nashville.
As we mentioned earlier, Austin is home to many major companies, and most of them bring a lot of cool developments and modern buildings here. For example, Apple built their largest campus outside of Silicon Valley here, spending $1 billion and employing 15,000 people. And Elon Musk has already bought land near Austin to build his private city, where his employees from Tesla, SpaceX, and Boring will work. This is, of course, incredibly innovative, truly bringing everyone together in one place to live and work. It would be amazing to visit there, as Elon Musk even calls it a utopian city. To be honest, I have a dream, or rather a goal, to one day build my own private city with libertarian laws. I really don't like all these regulations and high taxes, so I'm very glad that Elon Musk is already implementing similar projects here. And it's not surprising to me that this is happening in Texas, because Texas is a state that, again, doesn't like to impose a lot of regulations on construction and create obstacles for business. That's why we see such rapid development here.
By the way, in the fall, they built the Gigafactory. It's the largest car manufacturing plant, and this is where the Tesla Cybertruck and Tesla Semi are produced. Despite the low gas prices in Texas, you can still see a lot of electric cars here. Presumably because there are a lot of IT professionals here, and overall the city is quite different from other cities in Texas. And by 2026, a high-speed train line with artificial intelligence will be built here, allowing travel between Houston, Dallas, and Austin in just 1 hour. They aim to finish it just in time for the World Cup. Of course, when moving to any city, the first thing you think about is the salary-to-cost ratio. Well, in Austin it's excellent, even one of the best in the USA. The average salary in Austin is $536 per month after taxes, and you can rent a good house or an apartment in a complex with all amenities starting from $2,000. But our first guest in the video, Tanya, will tell us more about this.
Tanya, can you please tell us how long you've been living in America?
I've been in America since July of last year. That makes it 11 months. Yes, soon it will be a year. And all this time I've been living in Austin, and all this time in this location, because I already received a leasing extension. And I realized that I've been here for almost a year now.
Can you elaborate a bit on why you think Texas is the best place to do business?
I chose Texas from an economic standpoint because I researched the prices and basically it resonated with me. I figured it would be manageable for me. Why Austin? Dallas is too big. Houston was already taken for the field I wanted to work in, so Austin it is. Why not? It's the capital. Moreover, there are so many relocations happening here now. Everyone is moving here. It is indeed a promising place with IT and other sectors developing. Moreover, with around 1 million residents, you can roughly gauge that you can cover this volume and truly carve out your own niche.
So, you arrived almost a year ago and immediately started developing your business here?
Yes, I started the company even before I arrived. Yes, just before. I reached out to third-party companies that helped me. So, by the time I arrived, the company was already established.
Can you tell me about your company, what it does, and how successful it is overall?
Well, first came the idea and desire to relocate. That is, we had already lived in many places. We lived in Turkey, Italy, and America. In the USA, I was most interested from the perspective of business, development, and earnings. Moreover, the prospects for the children as well. And I started looking for ways to make it possible. I wanted it to be legal and also bring me money. Therefore, Kazakhstan, I am from Kazakhstan, is on the list of countries approved for visas. And two, that is, it is a business visa, not an immigration one, unfortunately. That means you have to start a real company, invest around a certain amount, about 100,000, and this money has to actually be put to work. So, after some time in the USA, you need to show that you are indeed working, that you have checks, clients, and employees, and based on this, you kind of request a visa. They suggested a business related to cleaning, opening a cleaning company. The main office is located in Los Angeles, in the state of Nevada. They have been working there for about 7 to 8 years. So everything is ready, the brand book, all the metrics they can present to you. Training, they are Russian speaking, so inviting a trainer to your place is a pretty serious approach. Moreover, throughout your life, as long as you collaborate with them, they support you. So, All the programs, promotion, and staff recruitment, this is not a franchise, it is a license that you acquire, and throughout your life, you become one team with them. So you constantly meet, call each other, some question arises. But it's very cool. Getting this visa is not such a quick process because I got the approval literally, probably about 2.5 months ago. Because of this 10-month period, I was without a driver's license, without a social security number, without anything. And only now, after I received approval, I have started to Americanize, opening some credit cards. And gradually, little by little, I started a company and rented an apartment. Somehow it worked out, even though I wasn't in America yet. So I submitted an online application and it was approved. The leasing process here is simple. They approve everyone.
What do you have in the complex? You can just list it.
When we lived in Turkey, it was approximately the same format, where you had a beautiful pool, a spacious gym, and a well-equipped office area. You could hold meetings there, invite colleagues for work, or chat with your friends, and enjoy the environment and relax. A barbecue area, parking included in the rent. Everything you need. Basically, yes, everything you need. This is Cedar Park, considered a suburb of Austin, 15 miles away, about 25-30 minutes. Well, I can only speak from my own personal experience. I currently rent a 2-bedroom apartment, 2 bedrooms and a living room. I pay around $1,800. And the parking spot, yes, that's included too. Well, plus, for utilities, I don't spend that much.
I like complexes like that with more greenery.
We have a movie theater and a department store right behind our house. You can just walk there even if you don't have a car, and it's just about 2 to 3 minutes to any supermarket like Walmart, H-E-B. Everything is very close, like Sam's Club, Costco, all within 2, 3, 5 minutes max.
We visited Tanya. Tanya told an interesting story about how she found this apartment in the first place. Can you share it with the viewers too?
I found it even before arriving in America, even, I think, just after buying the ticket, while I was still in Kazakhstan, having gone there on business. And everyone told me, no, it's impossible. That word didn't suit me because we were arriving at the end of July and school starts in August. Schools only accept students based on the lease agreement, meaning by district. And I understood that before diving in and starting to do business, I needed to make sure that my children were settled in this school, that I could quickly set everything up here, and then I could let go of this concern a bit. And I just started writing to various leasing companies, meaning I found out where they were located, even though I didn't yet understand which cities they were in. Austin, not far from Austin, and the groups were constantly active. I mean, in the Telegram chat, it was really active, 24/7, without any sleep at all. Yes, and I was told that there is a complex where you don't need a credit score, where you don't need to prove anything, no guarantors required. Try contacting them, write to them. I wrote to them and they asked, well, what proof of your financial stability do you have? I said that I am expecting a job offer very soon, that I will have everything, but right now I can't provide you with anything. They said, okay, then you have 2 options. Either you have some kind of guarantor who is an American, or a non-American with American documents, who legally works here and can vouch for you, covering any gaps if something happens. Or then a 1-month deposit. This was perfect for me because basically I kind of expected them to say 3 months, you know, because in other countries I know it works that way. What's the main thing in America? The main thing is to get in. After that, there are many truly legal ways, and you don't necessarily need to be super wealthy. Of course, if you have $1 million, you can probably make it all easier. But if you don't have that money, but you really want it, and you start looking for information and everything starts to come together for you. On the very first day off the plane, we opened an account and went to Bank of America. The next day, we went to places where they sell cars and bought a car that more or less suited me. And that's it, we moved here. So my lease started on the 19th and I arrived on the 21st. We were happy. The apartment was completely empty. There was nothing except the kitchen, refrigerator, kitchen on the floor. And on the way here, I stopped by Walmart, bought 2 mattresses so the kids would have somewhere to sleep, and that was it. That's how our story began. I think it will also be interesting for your students because when you arrive, you are under financial stress. Besides needing to find housing that you can pay for every day and a bunch of necessary things, you have to understand that you are moving into an empty apartment. In addition to figuring out where to get everything, you also need to understand how much money you need for it, including furniture and dishes. In short, you are starting life from scratch. And I don't know from my experience, but I think that this story actually happens to many people because I hear it here and there. America is very open and responsive and people really want to help. Let's say I walked into an empty apartment. I believe it probably took me about 2 days to completely and thoroughly furnish it, and I didn't buy anything here in this place. Even things like spoons and forks were given to me by some people. I even had a story where I needed something, I don't know, maybe a toaster or some small item to buy. For literally pennies, for $2 to $3, you write, you arrive, and the person asks you, where are you from? You have minimal English. You try to explain to him. He says, have you been here for 2 days? Let's go. And we entered the garage, and he gave me so many things. By the way, he gave me a lot of cleaning supplies, a vacuum cleaner. Yes, and a kettle, and in short, a lot of dishes. So he just heard some story. He realized that he could help me. And basically, all the furniture, dishes, and items you see here, you find them in some groups. Go and pick them up for free. This is related to many things.
On Facebook, on Telegram, OfferUp?
Marketplace, yes, so like this, or someone said somewhere, people want to help each other. Plus, besides being openly responsive, there's also the fact that when you move, well, this moving is quite expensive. And it's really easier for you to give things away, because when you get into the American story, how you can acquire everything here, when you get your first credit card, believe me, you will also want to share. Therefore, you definitely shouldn't be afraid of this. It is something that can be solved. You just need to clearly understand what you want and gradually move forward. Of course, along the way, there will be a billion surprises, both pleasant and unpleasant. But in my opinion, again, it's individual for everyone. Yes, this journey is very exciting.
It was this California fast food that surprised us when we saw it in Texas, and we even laughed saying it was made for those Californians who move here so they don't feel at home.
Yes, In-N-Out is actually my favorite fast food. I tried it on my first day when I just arrived in America, and it has remained my favorite ever since. And I'm really happy that I stumbled upon it here because we currently live in Miami and it's just not available there. Then we went to the Round Rock area to meet our friend Max, who recently acquired property in Austin.
Max, we already filmed an episode with you. Now we are very interested in knowing what prompted you to buy your next house in Austin.
Well, first of all, at the time I was making this decision, I had ideas about moving to Austin, or even just moving to Texas in general. And I started looking for real estate here, checking out properties. Well, again, it was that period when Austin was at the peak of its real estate boom. Everyone was moving here, and Tesla opened its largest factory, which, by the way, is currently the biggest employer in Austin. I thought that either I would move here in the future, or it just made sense to look at real estate here from an investment perspective. I started, as always, looking for real estate below market price and for a good deal. I thought, if I find something, I'll buy it. If I don't, then I don't. But this house just happened to come my way at that time. There was a special situation with the owner. She was moving out and needed to leave quite urgently. She was rather insensitive to the price. As she later told me personally, she just found me online, liked me, and decided to choose my offer out of all the offers she had. And so that's how I bought this house. Actually, the deal was good at that time, and probably even now, considering that the market has generally fallen by about 17–20% since then. It was 2.5 or 3 years ago, something like that. And even now, considering that the market has dropped by about 20%, I am still in the black with this house, thanks to the fact that I bought it at a good price back then. That's why my approach is to always buy below market price, so that in case of any market correction, you have some cushion, and you don't owe more than the market value of the house.
If you compare the amount you bought the house for with its current value, can you say that you made a profit?
Yes, just today I was looking at Zillow. When I bought it, the price was $265, plus I invested more because it needed renovations. For example, the landlady lived there, she smoked a lot, and it didn't smell very good inside. I think it was about $12,000, but that includes the new roof. The roof is very expensive. I replaced the roof here because there was hail and it severely damaged the roof. I had to replace the roof, and I did the interior repairs myself. Plus about $12,000, so $265 or $260 plus 12, well, around $280. I was just looking on Zillow, I think it's $305 or $310 even today. And the most interesting thing is that the exact same price was set by an official independent appraiser. That is, when you close the deal, a company is invited to evaluate the house and tell you how much it is worth on the market. This doesn't affect how much you are buying it for. It's just to make it clear to the bank that is giving the loan. So he understands whether you are overpaying or underpaying. It was $310 and now it's still $310 because the market has come back. Yes, it took about 6 months to come back.
So have you changed your mind about moving to Austin, or what do you think about it?
I'm already looking a bit at Downs. There's Fort Worth. It's developing quite quickly, so I'll go there again to check it out. As for the house, it's just there. My sister is living here right now.
Overall, are your thoughts about moving to Texas somehow related to taxes or something else?
Probably it's a bit of everything. I mean, it's partly the taxes, because there is no income tax here. On the other hand, property taxes here are quite a bit higher because they don't receive enough income taxes. It's kind of balanced out here. Also, I like the climate here a bit more. Even though it's very hot in the summer, the winter is somewhat nicer here than in New Jersey, for example. Well, you know, there was such a tech boom here. Many companies came and opened up here, and after COVID, they moved to California. Overall, there was such a buzz, I thought that maybe I would keep it as an option for myself. For now, I haven't decided yet.
Max, we were just discussing property tax, and can you tell us in absolute numbers how much you pay in taxes per year for your house in New Jersey and here in Texas?
Well, in New Jersey, I pay $4,000, approximately a little over $4,000 per year. Here I pay $6,000 based on last year's rate. But the big difference here is that in New Jersey, they don't reassess the value of the house every year, and my tax has been practically the same since I bought the house. Here in Texas, they reassess every year based on the market, sales in the same area, and everything else. That's why mine changes every year. And let's say last year my tax was very high because they assessed it based on sales. The year before last, when everything was at its peak. But this year, my tax dropped significantly because they reassessed it again based on last year's sales when the market fell sharply. Therefore, the situation here changes in terms of the approach to property assessment, and so the tax rate, or rather the rate itself, remains the same, but the tax amount changes every year because they reassess. This doesn't happen in New Jersey. It is generally believed that in states without income tax, they compensate for this with property tax. This tax is higher and involves a more meticulous approach to property assessment every year.
Texas kind of positions itself as a freer state, with fewer regulations. In terms of whether you need to maintain your property, there are some other rules that can be shared.
The difference between a red state and a blue one, yes, is that in principle the regulations here for obtaining building permits, they are much more lenient than in New Jersey, than in blue states. It's traditional. Blue states like to regulate everything. They like to tighten everything up, while in red states things are more relaxed. Therefore, building is faster here, obtaining permits is quicker, which means the market responds to demand more swiftly. So let's say, when there was a high demand for real estate, there is now a construction boom here, and a huge amount of real estate is being built, and because of this, the price has dropped. If there is high demand, the market responds with supply, which levels the price. Meanwhile, in New Jersey, it is very difficult to build anything.
You're saying it dropped by 17%, right?
Yes, indeed. Compared to Jersey, it has grown by 11% on average. You see, because it's very hard to build, you can't get a permit. Everything gets delayed for 3 years from the moment you want to build something to the moment you can lay the first brick because of the permit and all these, city restrictions and all that stuff. Therefore, there is a constant shortage of real estate there, which is not compensated for, and the market does not respond to this demand. Well, supply actually, cannot because of all these regulations. This is especially true in this case. Here, the difference between buying property in red states and blue states is noticeable. As I said, for investments, it's probably better to buy in blue states because property growth will be higher there since it's harder to build new ones. And for yourself, it's better to buy in the red states because you can get a newer home and it will be cheaper.
By the way, you mentioned 3 years. If you want to build a house in New Jersey now, could it really take 3 years?
Yes. For example, if you have land and need to get a permit, you go to the city, the town, somewhere, you submit an application, and it can take 3 years. From the moment you bought the land to the moment you can lay the first brick. Anyway, like in the fall, well, you have already traveled, you saw that everything is being built everywhere. Roads are being built, houses everywhere, and complexes are being built. There are no problems with that.
Max, we just walked around the neighborhood and it's really beautiful. I would say maybe not exactly the big American dream, but it's not bad. It seems to me that many immigrants who come to America think of a lawn, their own car, their own house, like that's the picture. Tell me, do you think the middle class lives here or not?
I think it's still one category below middle class. Basically, if you look at, Round Rock, this city is considered somewhat not very good.
This was in Igor Tosteny's time.
If, let's say, you go a little to the west, Cedar Park, I agree. It's a middle-class area.
Max, well, Autumn is, of course, an absolutely amazing city, and I probably have an interesting question. So if I decide to buy a house here, let's take the average price. Is it around $300,000?
If a little away from Ovsina, you can find for 250, 300 with comfort. 50 can be on key, 300 with comfort.
All right, let's settle on 300. What could the down payment be? What are the limits for such a house? And what would the monthly payment be?
But if this is your first home, your first property, and you plan to live in it, your down payment can be very low, 3.5%, which is called an FHA loan. If this is your first property and you will live in it, well, 3.5%. How much is that? $10,000, $11,000 or $12,000, right? If this is an investment property or if it's already your second property, then the standard down payment is 20%, which comes out to $60,000, plus closing costs, which add another $9,000, $10,000 for a house at this price.
Let's say this is my first home. Yes. So I pay, let's say, $11,000 as a down payment. What about closing costs? Will I have to pay something extra for that too?
Two options. You can have the money for closing the deal right at the time of closing, and for that, you need to have $20,000 on the day of closing. Or you can put this amount into the same loan you are essentially getting, and then it will be stretched over years. But the problem with these Federal Housing Administration FHA loans is that they require you to take out an additional 1.5% insurance on the entire loan amount.
If you haven't paid this closure or in general?
No, overall. If your down payment is 3.5%, the initial down payment is low, the bank will ask you to take additional insurance, which costs 1.5%, and the interest rates are already high, so now the percent will be 7.5 plus 1.5, that will be around 9%.
Wait a minute, so it's $11,000, what else? How much more might I need? Around another $20,000 for closing.
No, the closure is around 9-10. Well, if I go by my own example.
All right, $21,000, and how much more do I need to pay for insurance?
Insurance is included in the monthly payment.
Oh, great. And what could the monthly payment be approximately?
Well, regarding my house, again, I closed on it when the interest rates were 2 to 3%. So I pay $1,600 a month. I think that an interest rate of 7% would be somewhere around $200.
Listen, well, overall it's good. How many bedrooms do you have in the house?
2 bedrooms, 2 full bathrooms, completely separate. My sister is living there now, and unfortunately I can't do a home tour because they have a small child and their personal belongings are there.
Today we found out that the average salary in the fall after taxes is about $5,500. If a person can pay about $2,500 for their home mortgage, that's pretty good. And if it's a family with 2 working people, that's just perfect.
Yes, in terms of affordability, I think Austin, despite the rise in real estate prices, is much better and more comfortable for people than New York, New Jersey, and similar states.
And since Max and I touched on the topic of middle-class homes and neighborhoods, I decided to Google the median home price in Austin, and it turned out to be $500,000. So we arrived in a neighborhood where homes cost about that much, and you can just see how the average middle class lives in Austin and get an idea of what those living conditions are like. Of course, it also depends on the location. This particular neighborhood is 15 minutes away from downtown. If you look at neighborhoods 30 minutes from downtown, you can find a house for $300,000, which might even look better and have a larger lot. But here, everything looks more or less like this. And by the way, what we noticed, unlike Houston, even the fire station here is styled to match the city. Here, there's a more Western-style neighborhood with brick houses and saloons. The fire station also tries to match the style. And by the way, the firefighters even set up a water station for dogs. Very nice. There are a lot of people with dogs here. And here we are with Tyler too. Tyler was able to get some water from here. And let's also go into the fire station and ask the firefighters a few questions about the city. Could you tell us, please, a little bit about the city? How do you like it?
Sure. Yeah, Austin's a very good city to live in. It's very youthful. There's a lot of young people that are moving here. A lot of opportunity for work, just entertainment, just having a good time. There's a lot of music. It's a big music city.
Okay, and do you feel like it's a safe city or?
Very much so, very much,
yes?
Yeah, very much so. And again, like any city, anywhere in the world, there's gonna be bad parts, good parts, but for the most part, Austin is very safe.
And for the middle class, do you think it's a good city to live in?
Yes, very much so. There's plenty of still property you can buy around the city, a lot of really good jobs, and it's overall fun for families Our salary is a bit competitive. It was one of the highest paid in the state, but since then, the amount of growth all over the state has caused other departments to pay a little bit better. But with that said, we still get paid very well, compensated very well, whether it's money, vacation, or our schedule to spend time with our families. As far as being able to afford, if you didn't live here before the big boom of 2018, it's kind of hard to live in the city of Austin. Most of us either live on the outskirts or about an hour away. So I would highly recommend young professionals, anybody from any culture really. Texas, Austin specifically, is very culture diverse.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Guys, they really aren't kidding when they talk about Southern hospitality. The people here are just incredibly warm. They gave Tyler so many compliments.
It's really great that there are so many families with children here, and because of that, the city feels very family-oriented and atmospheric. And it's not to say that Austin, for example, is a city of contrasts, although this can be said about many cities in America. It's more steady, measured, and to some extent even predictable. So you smoothly transition from one neighborhood to another, and there's nothing that really shocks you because they all have more or less the same vibe, the same energy, the same feel here. That is, for example, like in Los Angeles, you might have a homeless person on one side, and on the other side, I don't know, some incredibly well-maintained flower bed. Overall, everything here feels very organic, and despite being quite family-oriented, it is also fairly youth-oriented. I suppose it's because one of the largest universities in the USA, the University of Texas, is located here. So, if you love to party, you'll enjoy it here.
So guys, we decided to show you some interesting event in the fall and came to a place called Space Camp.
The design here is so unusual and very interesting. And by the way, the food is also delivered in quite a unique way. Guys, everything we had except for the cocktail tasted amazing. I even want to list what exactly, so when you visit in the fall, you definitely try it. This is the crispy rice trio. They were kind of like sushi, but some of them were meat-based. Beef tartare, simply out of this world. And we also got corn ribs. We really liked it.
Yes, and of course we couldn't do without the steak and cakes.
Oh, this is called a cowgirl hug.
And of course, when talking about the city's infrastructure, it's important to note the walkability of Austin. There are many pleasant spaces here where you can take a walk. For example, this place where we are walking right now is a bridge over the river, and there are many such bridges here. And as you can see, it's really crowded here. That is, unlike Dallas or Houston, where there are often empty spaces and few people. And here people are really walking around and exercising. Overall, it's great in this regard. We give Austin a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, the atmosphere is really vibey, and it's cool that on the right, people are riding kayaks. On the left, they're fishing. Some are actually running, playing volleyball, so you can really see that people are enjoying their life in the city.
Yes, and there's this perfect balance between using a car and taking a walk somewhere, because Americans love their cars. You can drive to a neighboring city, drive to a national park, and in this regard, it's just perfect here. We just arrived in the Domain neighborhood. It's a new area with a bunch of IT specialists, and this is where Kolya lives. Kolya works at one of the American companies and is involved in IT, right?
Yes, I am a UX UI designer.
And now we will talk about this area, the Domain. Yes, let's take a walk there.
The Domain is a new center attracting young people and professionals. There are expensive restaurants here, there are expensive shops here, and you can have coffee here. We will now see the Apple Center. This building, for example, sells very expensive furniture. There is a street here with 8 bars, and all the young folks who don't want to go downtown and drink on 6th Street and get drunk, they can do the same thing here. It's very nice to walk around here in the summer, from bar to bar. The only downside, so many people come that you have to fight for your beer. Either drink it right away or fight to the last.
The district is popular.
Yes, because you don't need to go to the city center. Again, people have settled in the suburb, living in nice apartment complexes, and it takes them 10-15 minutes to get here. To get to the city center, you need to drive through the highway.
And here, the infrastructure is all pedestrian friendly.
Exactly, in this part, yes, they built a pedestrian area for the simple reason that they wanted everyone to come here, so there are a lot of free parking garages. You just arrive, leave your car, and go. Oh yes, during the day there are a lot of kids here, and now we will see playgrounds for children. They incorporate Austin's cultural values here, but they build the area like it's in New York. Beautiful office buildings, beautiful architecture. Everything will be beautiful, but in Austin, and it is very different from downtown. So there's a shopping mall behind, Starbucks ahead, Apple Store ahead. There's an ice cream museum, there's a comedy club, and there are big sports stores. It's all here. You just walk around it, it's so nice. If you just want to take a stroll somewhere in Austin, they love to paint different murals. Here, they update them every few months. Right now, we have Hello Austin here. Before, it was a tiger with skulls. And before that, it was something else. From time to time, I buy coffee a little further away, then I go and take pictures and send kisses to my sister. We approached the famous mural that no one knows anything about because this mural is dedicated to Matthew McConaughey, who has now become the king of Texas and is almost a symbol of Austin. He has one of his early films, and in it he says the famous phrase, all right, all right, all right, while sitting in a car.
All right, all right, all right.
And he said it at the ceremony.
That I say, all right, all right, all right. Austin dedicated such a fresco to him in the garage.
But in the summer, I mean, it's really quite tough.
If you are not used to wearing shorts and flip-flops, if you change clothes, you go out in the evening, and that's why you drink cold beer. You need it. You really need it. Not water, you need cold beer. Because there are young professionals here, everyone goes to the gym, and you watch everything with your water. So you see there will be a lot of caffeine here. You just buy something. This is Full Foods, the local supermarket. In Texas, people love beer, and they love it very cold. What won't you find in other places when you walk inside? They built a beer bar, and let's go and take a look. People work here, and there is free internet.
Wow, yeah, this is the first time I've seen something like this. It's a purely Texan bar.
Right now, it's a bit of a mess, but look, there are different kinds of beer here. So it's some kind of local beer. You can order it and then most likely just buy a bottle and go, but you can sit and drink here.
And we already showed you this feature. It's now available all across America in places like Miami and Boston. You just wave your hand to pay. It's available in any hall function. Yes, the domain is an area with perfect development where it's mixed use, and there are bars, restaurants, shops, and also residential complexes with all the amenities like pools, jacuzzis, and gyms. You can just step out of your house and walk to a store or a cafe. In short, it's perfect. And there are a lot of people. Again, it's always nice to see many people after some car-centric cities in America where everyone gets around only by car. Here too, as you can see, there are a lot of cars, but also a lot of people walking around. The area suits everyone.
Where are we meeting? At the domain, and you just come over.
And now let's probably look at an example of the complexes where people live here, and you live right nearby.
Welcome to Riata Apartments. This is one of the largest apartment complexes in Austin that I have ever seen. It has very extensive grounds and a lot of space. There are dog parks, volleyball courts, and basketball courts. There are gyms, many swimming pools, and free spots where you can just sit, study, drink coffee, and relax. This place has everything. Young professionals live here, as well as professionals who have come from India and brought their families. That means elderly people. That means in the evenings you see people walking around here, and there are many children. So it is very interesting.
And how much do you pay per month for the apartments?
My neighbors and I pay just under $2,000, but it's much cheaper than it was in Boston.
And how many neighbors do you have?
Now, this is a 2-bedroom apartment. That means 2 toilets, 2 bathrooms, and a living room and a kitchen. And ideally, there's also a small dining hall. This wasn't the case in Boston. That is, for this price, you can't even rent a 1-bedroom or even an apartment in Boston.
Yes, there's still so much more here, but let's go take a look. This is such a big advantage of living in American complexes because you immediately have access to a swimming pool, gym, business center with free coffee. You mentioned there's also a dog park here.
Basketball and volleyball courts. There's also even a music recording room here.
Apparently, it's not for nothing that Autumn is considered the musical capital. Imagine you can just go into a recording studio in your complex and record your song. I've never seen anything like that anywhere else.
There are also places here where you can have bonfires and places where you can do barbecues. So it's a very cool complex. And in fact, it's not the most expensive one I've seen. In Los Angeles, in Boston, in New York, everything is much more expensive. But this is considered an expensive complex.
We came home. Kolya is now going to show us his room. The first thing we did was take off our shoes, which is quite interesting because not everyone keeps this tradition. Some people, like Americans, walk around the house in shoes. We don't wear shoes at home, neither does Kolya. Let's go to the room.
Well, you see my room is small. What can I say? I'm a Lego fan, so I have Lego. I am a UX designer. I have a bunch of calendars, and I have a lot of books on various topics. That's why I love having my own libraries, so I buy books, and it's very difficult to move with them. As a true designer / well, a person who loves playing with toys, I live like Harry Potter, my office.
Wow! Whoa!
So yes, we decided instead of installing it here, the guy said, let's just slide the barrel in. Boston is my favorite. The map of Boston, Sarov, the map of Austin. It's not visible here right now.
Please write about your American journey, how you got here, which city you came from, and how long ago.
I ended up here by chance. An American family adopted me many years ago. They adopted me from the Ukrainian city of Berdyansk, the one on the Sea of Azov. This was before they changed the legislation. And now you can only adopt disabled children, or it was allowed back then. But at that time, it was just possible to adopt. And so we were taken to America. I ended up in Los Angeles because my family, the American family, Alan and Judy, they lived in Los Angeles, and I graduated high school in Los Angeles. I arrived with an English level of, I get up at 7 o'clock, London is the capital of Great Britain, and I couldn't respond to the simple phrase, what's up? When people said what's up to me, I would immediately look up, wondering what was up there, but it's just a common expression meaning how are you, and I didn't understand that. What's up? Something up there. And I graduated high school with honors. I received a diploma signed by George W. Bush. Bush for being such a great student, and I later managed to graduate from university with honors and received cum laude. At the same time, I was an average, slightly above average student in Ukraine. I'm like, is that okay? Studying in America is interesting, but the system works differently. Basically, if you just spend time on lectures, study the material, at least read it, answer questions, and pass exams with grades slightly above average, you can sit down and finish. In other words, they don't punish you for not memorizing. They don't teach you to memorize. They teach you to simply think. And so, what do you think? They say, look, I mean, they often don't have bad answers. You just think in that direction. Maybe the thought isn't always right, but you're not forbidden to think that way. And so it happened that I finished everything, went to law school, got into the Golden Gate School of Law, studied there for a year, and failed it all. Basically, a complete average student. And I was placed on academic probation. I had to take a year off from studying. I received a paralegal certificate, which is basically a legal assistant or a secretary, to put it bluntly. I worked for several years as a paralegal and realized that I didn't like it. I wanted something more. I switched my career to UX UI design because you just work with forms. I enjoyed working with lawyers. You work with form, how you convey information, what information to show first, second, third, and what fonts to use. I thought, I did this for lawyers. I can do this on a screen too. So I started working, and because Boston is a very expensive city, I looked for Austin. My friends and I decided to move to Austin because they had their own opportunities here, and we decided to just join forces and go together. And that's how we live now.
Since Austin, unlike Dallas and Houston, is not flat and even has hills and hiking spots, besides the downtown and domain areas, many tech professionals work and live in the Silicon Hills area, which might remind you of the Silicon Valley or Hollywood Hills by name, so Austin has even excelled in this regard. Today is our last day in Austin, and the day turned out to be quite rainy. And we decided that we just had to visit the coolest barbecue place in Austin. It's such a legendary spot. And this is what the meat looks like here. We paid $100 for this entire plate, but it's for free. Now it will be interesting to try and find out. By the way, I wanted to share an interesting detail about Texas. Here, barbecue is eaten in the morning. The locals told us that it is smoked from early in the morning and should be eaten in the morning. That's why there are so many people here, even though it's very early in the morning right now. It's quite unusual. Well guys, I can confidently say that this is the most tender meat I've ever eaten. It just melts in your mouth. So if you find yourself in Austin, make sure to come here right away. We also tried barbecue at a couple of other places. Honestly, it was tasty, but nothing particularly special. But here, they really have a special way of cooking, and it's truly local. I just now understood what people mean when they say you must try Texas barbecue. And here, it's genuinely local. Very cool. All right, guys, let's sum it up. I think this might just be my favorite city in America now. I just fell in love with the local people here. They are so warm and sociable. Lots of young people, lots of families. The city is just incredibly modern. Honestly, it reminds me a lot of Seattle. But while Seattle is cloudy, here the weather is incredibly pleasant. That's why I'm in love, to be honest.
I can't disagree. I also really like the city, and often when visiting cities that leave a pleasant impression, the desire to try living in them arises. So if you want to come to Austin or any other city in America, we remind you that we assist with obtaining tourist visas, and we have a very strong team. But if you want not just to come as a tourist, but to experience life in America and stay here for a long time, we also help people from 15 to 75 years old come to America for language courses. This is how Anton and I came here. Before getting my green card, I studied in language courses for 4 years. And even though it is a student visa, it is not an immigration visa. It does not hinder future immigration. Our guys in our community, our clients who reached out to us after such courses received a green card through EB3, a talent visa, EB2, EB1. Some win the lottery, some find their love.
Yes, and guys come at any age, even at 30 or 40 years, so don't think that this study is only for those who are 20 years old who have just finished university or school.
So we hope for new meetings. Bye-bye.